find the best place to put this. I guess it could go up here. That's not too bad. We'll go do something like that. Sit back further. Morning, Holly. Trying to get myself. Okay, so I uploaded a new version of Wildwood Flower 1.1. It's even more simplified. It doesn't have the licks. It's just the melody. And I will add to this as we go. But I probably should call this 1.0 and change the other one to 1.1, but too late. So, and then the Flatpick Apprentice has a bunch of jam tracks of this, but it's in the key of C. So I'm gonna do, I don't know, I guess I could do 100 because it makes sense. We can speed it up, but so it's so slow. I'll probably do 100 and just loop it or something, and then upload it so that you make the video unlisted, and with I think I can still monetize unlisted videos, but make it so it's just you guys at Discord. I'll also upload this to the my Dropbox, and then that way YouTube files. Here we go. Wait, what? Okay. Let me see if this works. Look, it's kind of acting funny. Oh, that's it. Okay, cool. Okay. So here's the Dropbox link. So if you're not on, if you don't want to go to Discord, if you don't want to join Discord, you can do the Dropbox link right there. And I was going to record a jam track this morning, but they're making noise next door. So it's like, I got to move my studio, which is a pain. All the work I did to set up the studio in this room, I have to undo everything and do it in a different room, I think. Because I'm afraid they're going to be making a lot of noise back there. Although no permits have been filed, but they have a bobcat out front. I'm like, okay, they're going to... That's the other thing. Somebody did an ADU over on the corner from us, and they had the bobcat, and it's like a little property, and the thing was non-stop beeping, right? Because it was always backing up and forwards and backwards. So it was beeping, and then they did it all day Saturday, like for 12 hours, and all day Sunday for 12 hours. It was driving everyone insane. People were walking out there going, what's going on? And I'm like, you're alone in the backyard doing the bobcat. Can you disable the beep? And they said no. I'm like, that's unbelievable. Probably a code, LA City code thing. So who do we have? We have Holly, we have Sam. How you doing, Sam? Roger, good to see you. Bob Schumann. Dan, good to see you. David Sillers. Jim Horse, good to see you. Maybe you were lurking, but I don't see you as often as we once did. Lena, sorry. So we're probably just going to work our way through this melody again. It's pretty darn simple. That's kind of why I chose it. It's also public domain, which is really why I chose it. Yeah, and I did, if you look there, I did do a Dropbox link for this. You can download the PDF of this. However, if you want to join the Dropbox link, all of the PDFs are up there. I mean, not the Dropbox link, the Discord link, which I pinned. All of those are there, but I doubt that there's anybody on right now that isn't a member already, because we only got 17 people up right now. So, and so originally I'd written this out in C, and the Carter family does it in G. G is a better key because that's what we've been doing anyway. It's a better key on many points. One is the range of the is I mean, actually, the range on that's fine. On the C one, but we had an F chord in the key of C. So this way, we don't have an F chord. We have G, D, and C, and those are our only three chords in this song. And then, but the range of the melody at the top is pretty darn low. Okay, but when Mabel Carter plays it, the solo on it, on her archtop guitar, she uses C shapes. So she's voicing it like as if she was in the key of C, still playing in the key of G. When you capo at the 7th fret and play in the key of C, you're really in the key of G. But the capo, a lot of things happen when you do that capo. It makes even bar chords, and she doesn't, I don't think she goes to that chord. She goes to this. She goes to that F chord. She does a very small voice. But if you're struggling with the bar chords, okay, one trick that you can do, and I don't know if I mentioned this in that video, I may have, but you could start at the 7th fret. That's pretty high up, but if you start at 7th fret, the frets are smaller, it's closer to your body, and the strings are lower because you're using the capo. And see if you can get a good sounding bar chord there. Now this wouldn't be F, this is technically a C chord, but it is an F bar chord shape. So if you're struggling with bar chords, you can do that and go, okay, if you can get that to sound good, then go down a fret. And see if you can get that one to sound good, okay? And if you can't, then work with it until you do. You know, it may mean moving your elbow a little bit to kind of get a better, it may mean pushing harder on your first finger. It may be not pushing so hard on your first finger. And then you move down another fret, and now you're down here in this E flat chord. And also your thumb may be, if you got your thumb over the neck like this, it might be really difficult. It's very difficult to do a bar chord like an F chord. So I typically will have, when I'm playing F, I'll have my thumb way behind the neck. And you just keep working your way down and get it to sound good. Practice going to other chords so you don't just learn how to play a F chord and kind of like staring at the sun. Your hand will freeze, you know, you have a spot in your vision for the rest of your life. Same thing with if you just play the F chord, your hand will be just shaped like this the rest of your life. No, you want to go from other chords so you can practice, you know, E minor, A minor, whatever. And just go from every chord you know to the F chord to practice those finger paths. And then you just keep moving it down, and eventually you could get to the point where you can play this chord that we don't even need in the song. So no point in learning it. No, I'm just kidding. Always good to learn the bar chord. So, so the melody, when I record, I'll try to do it by Friday so that we can have the jam track. You can practice the melody, and I'll make it 10 minutes long. At 100, it won't be hard, but I probably won't play it for 10 minutes. I'll probably loop it. But yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, maybe I could play it for 10. I don't know. But 100 is really slow. I was just playing along with it. It's like. The only reason to do it 100 is so that you can speed it up on YouTube, and you can know that when you go up 1.25, you're going to 125, and if you go 1.50, you're going to 50, and 150. And 150 would be probably where you would start technically. I mean, I'm sure someone like Roger could do the math. If I did a track at 50 and we went up 25%, let's see, 25% of 150, sorry, 150, not 50. 25% of 150 is, let's see, 25 plus 12. So that's the one. So that would be 187.50 or 187 and a half. And then if you went to 150 or 1.5 the speed, then that would be 225. And 225 would be on the fast side anyway. So probably 100 makes the most sense because we can practice, you know, here's the... That's 100 for 1, 2. Yeah, so that's pretty darn slow, and even if we were soloing over it, boy, and that's the hard part about that. This song is that the first two phrases are 5 bars long. Everything about us wants to solo in. I'll probably listen to. I'm sure that they stick with the 5 bar thing. I'll probably listen to some other versions of this, bluegrass players, and see if they change it to kind of a 4 bar phrase thing for the solo sections. It wouldn't be unheard of. There are times where in jazz, a lot of times you'll go to just a standard blues in the solo section. Even though the chord changes for the song were not the blues. That sometimes happens. So you can change what you solo over for the verse or for the thing. But if you're gonna quote the melody, you know. See, and I want to cut that bar off going into that B section. But at a really fast tempo, that extra bar does come as a nice breather. So once I have the jam track done, and I'll probably practice along with it more and kind of get a sense of it. Yeah, thank you, Bruce. Yeah, and I can talk a little bit about that today, Diane. That's no problem. And I did specifically, and I also have a whole playlist of strumming grooves. Hold on a second. Strumming lessons that might be even more on point and quicker to the point. Here. Playlist. Okay. Oh, here we go. And the okay, and I have electric grooves in here too. So let's look at this at the chord progression at the top, okay? And let's do this again. Let's just, I'm going to put 100 on. We have to go a little louder. 1. All downstrokes here. 2, 3, 4. G. 2. Next line. Down. D. 4. G. Extra bar. 1. Next line. To C for 4 beats. Back to G. Fourth bar, fourth line. Last bar, top, 4, top. Okay? Now, you'll notice that I'm doing all downstrokes. But I'm really not. I'm doing an equal number of downstrokes and upstrokes. Because every time I'm going down, I have to go back up to go down again. Because I'm not windmilling. If I was doing Pete Townsend, then I could say I was only doing downstrokes. I don't think I have room to windmill here. But in other words, I'm not going. Okay? I'm not just going down. I'm actually, every time I'm going down, I'm coming up, but I'm missing the strings. So we could change that groove, or that very simple quarter note thing, to all eighth notes if we just go, if we strike on the upstrokes. And one of the keys is, especially on upstrokes, might be to go with a thinner pick. Because if you hold your pick too tight, and I when I'm strumming, I tend to hold my pick very loosely. If you hold it too tight, you might snag it like a fish hook, right? It's like you get this kind of, whoa, shit, whoa. You want to hold the pick fairly loose and maybe use a thinner pick at first. I can strum, I mean, this is a very, very heavy pick. This is 3.5 millimeters. I don't have a problem strumming up and down. If I held it tight, I might have a problem. I might break strings. But I hold it very loose in my hands. Very loose. And I expose more of the pick than I normally would. In other words, I let more of the pick out of my hands when I'm strumming. Then when I'm soloing, I kind of clamp down on the pick and expose less. Not so much with this pick, but with other picks that I use. So just so you know, when you're doing a downstroke, you're technically doing an upstroke in between. Okay? And so the way you would count those strokes would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the upstrokes are and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. And when you do that, immediately that 100 sounds a lot faster, right? Because you're hitting twice as many strums in the same time frame. 3, 4. D, G, extra bar, next line. D, G, extra bar, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, C, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and G, G, last bar, last line, D, 3, 4. Okay. So, Dub's in the closet right now. I should get it out. I'm enjoying this guitar though, since I put mediums on here, which is technically I would call heavies. You know, the main 3 sets of strings are extra light, light, and medium, not light, medium, and heavy. They used to call strings heavy back in the day, but they tried to change that. I've got an Ektara. I don't know what an Ektara is. So what we try to do on Monday, which I think is a good exercise, is to play the bass note and then 3 down strums, okay, for each bar. So in other words, the bass note of the G chord is the bottom string here. And so now you're kind of acting as the bass player. You're playing bass, and now you're both the bass player and the guitar player. It's kind of a cool way. You could be the drummer too, I suppose. You could. That's a little annoying, but yeah, I'll often do snare hits in the middle of grooves. Now that groove is a little sparse to throw a snare hit in it. I might. So like, I might do it in something like that, but so the other thing that we can do with the bass note is we can go from the root to the fifth. We go, and that would require you to know what the fifth of each of these chords is. Well, the fifth of G is a D note, so we have 1, 3, 5. Wanted to, we can play something like that, and then in a D chord. But eventually, you can get your bass line to be a little bit busier, and now it really does sound kind of like. Okay, you can get the bass line moving around a little bit more and have more fun with it. And so let's do that. Let's play the bass note, G chord. I mean the G bass note, and then the chord. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, pretty simple. Okay, the next chord is D. Well, this one's harder because that D string is the root, which means we got to pick out that 4th string and then strum. You might have to look at your hands a little bit. You might have to slow way down. And just for future reference, the 5th of the D chord is right here. Okay? The A string. Okay? Now we wouldn't do that lick because there's no C sharp in this key, but in the D chord, the root is on the D string, obviously, D root, and the 5th, D, F sharp, A, the A is down here, and that's one of the A's we can play. The other thing you could do, if the chord is going to a G, it might make more sense to play the F sharp instead of going to the 5th. See what I did there? Brought my thumb around and grabbed that F sharp. And then that leads really strong, and that F sharp really wants to go to the G note. Okay, so it's kind of like that story I told you about taking that gig with a country band. I've never, I'm not a country guitar player. I'm doing these lessons to help me learn bluegrass. It's very, very selfish. I'm a very selfish person. And so I'm doing these lessons here to help me learn bluegrass. But one of the things I learned when I did sit in with a country band, because they needed a guitar player, and they go, oh, don't worry, you'll know all these songs, and I literally knew none of the songs. It was like, yeah, because you guys play country music 6 nights a week. It's like all of these songs were like standards to them. I mean, even Achy Breaky Heart, I go, oh yeah, I remember that song, but I don't know the changes. What key is it in? It's like, so thank God the bass player was standing next to me, and he telegraphed everything. I touched my face so we can take a sip. We have a drinking game here. There are a lot of rules. We may go over those at some point, but the rules are if I touch one of the rules, the first rule is actually if I touch my face, which is a COVID no-no, and I only do more now, we all get to take a sip. But the bass player would telegraph, would literally tell me what's coming up. Oh, G chord. Oh, C chord. I was like, I could totally just listen to him. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, see. Da, da. He's still, and so you can, eventually you get good at kind of moving your bass line around, especially, you can kind of, start having fun with that bass line, and think of yourself as a bass player with a guitar player as a second career option. Now, so the D string or the D chord is there. The C chord is on the 5th string. So play a C chord. The bass is a 5th string. Hit that, and then strum 3. Hey, David. So my C chord is 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the 5th string, 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th string, and your 1st finger skips a string and goes down to the 2nd fret of the 2nd string. You see that? And I'm trying to hold the guitar, so that's why my thumb's in a bad position. But the high E string and the G string are they are open. And at first, when you play a C chord, it often sounds like this, right? You can't get those open strings to ring out. It's a matter of bringing your elbow and your thumb around and trying to get more on your fingertips, okay? And it's going to hurt. So, David, Proctor, just be patient. Like you said, you're going to be patient. Also, the names of the strings: eat at Denny's, get bad eggs. So when I refer to the strings, often I'll say the low E string or the high E string, or I'll say to the G string or the D string or the A string or whatever. So what you want to do is, first thing you want to do is memorize the names of the strings. I use eat at Denny's, get bad eggs. Everybody here seems to have a different, is that a mnemonic? Is that a mnemonic, Holly? I forget. Yeah, Guitar Center cannot keep guitars in stock. I saw an article in Rolling Stone that said that Sweetwater is selling 1,000 guitars a day. And at first I read it a year and I went, wow, that's a pretty good year to sell 1,000 guitars. I'm thinking a little small guitar store would be thrilled to sell 1,000 guitars a year, I would think. And it was a day. I was like, oh my goodness, 365,000 guitars a year. That's a lot of guitars. Yeah, and David, you'll find a pretty accepting group here. Until we get like trolls, we'll get the 15-year-old trolls every now and then. They show up. Oh, John, did you ask me a question? Every good boy does fine. No, that's for the. Every good boy does fine. That's for the lines on the staff. Eddie ate dynamite. Goodbye, Eddie. Yeah. Oh, Dennis and Holly have the same one. Okay, spelled Eddie differently. Eddie ate dynamite. Goodbye. Goodbye, Eddie. See, goodbye is 2 words though, isn't? Or 1 word. I guess, is it a hyphenated word? All right, I'm splitting hairs here. Okay, so that's the first thing you want to work on is maybe get your metronome. You can get a free metronome on your phone. Lots of apps that do this. I think I paid for this one because I don't want to have an ad in the middle of my metronome adventure. But you could start out by strumming just the chords down. Okay, and then you can try to add the bass note. Okay, so that's the whole song played with the chords, bass and 3 chords. Then we could do a pattern. I can turn that off for a second, but like that's going to be too swingy. We want bluegrass. So let's try that one, okay? So what we're going to do is just play the G chord. We're not going to change any chords at this moment, okay? Don't worry about changing chords. Go bass note, strum, up, down. Now, you'll notice that I keep my arm moving. That's really, really important. So, shoot, who was asking about strumming upstrokes and things like that? When I was doing remember when you're doing the quarter notes, the downstrokes, we were strumming up in between, right? Even if I don't hit the down strum, if I just hit the bass, or if I just hit one whole note, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, whole notes last entire. You hit the chord once and it lasts the entire bar, all 4 beats. Even if I do that, I'm likely to keep my arm moving. And what that does is it allows you to be your own metronome. The old school metronome, see, this is the new school metronome, right? This is what people think of when they think of a metronome. But back in the day, it was one of these tick-tock, little pyramid things, and it would have an arm that go back, and you would move a little counterweight on it up and down to make it go faster or slower. Okay, that can be turned into an awful GIF. But anyway, we won't go there. Oh yeah, thank you, Diane. So what you want to do is you've got that metronome that's going like this. You want to bring it this way and think of your arm as the arm of a metronome, okay? And just keep it going. Even if you're just hitting, you can practice. Actually, it's probably a really good thing to practice is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? Because there are going to be times where we have what I call stranded upstrokes, where we have an upstroke without a downstroke, because that's what creates a syncopated feel. This feel is not syncopated. Okay? This is not syncopated. Because there's every upstroke has a downstroke right before it. However, this pattern, very common pattern. And that pattern I call the standard folk groove, which is in that playlist that I posted, and here it is again. So there's 35 videos on strumming, electric and acoustic strumming in that playlist you can check out that I've done. How many videos do I have, Bruce? 800 or something? No, not 800 yet, right? It's crazy. But when that pattern that I was doing, the standard folk groove, when you play it really fast, it's a very common pattern for bluegrass. And I'm trying to keep my hand moving. And so you can create all sorts of syncopated rhythms if you keep your hand moving. And then it becomes syncopated when you play an upstroke by itself. Okay? In fact, reggae is all upstrokes. 1 and 3 and 4 and. Right? Ska is the same thing, just faster. Okay, so it sounds better. You can do reggae. It just doesn't sound quite the same as going top to bottom on the strum. And again, same thing with ska. You do a ska version of Wildwood Flower. It probably has been done. Googling now. So let's do this pattern though that I was just showing you, and it's basically I wish I had it written out, but it's I can write it out on paper here, I suppose, but it's basically bass note, strum, and then miss the strings. We can even practice that. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. fact, we can hit 4. So we're just going to skip 3. 1, 2, oh, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. I don't remember who it was that said, it's often not the notes you play, it's the notes you don't play. But I'm sure 1,000 different professors have said that at some point. Same thing's true with strumming. We're not playing. That's a great feel right there, right? So like, da, da, da. And technically it's a syncopated pattern because we're not playing on beat 3, but we're strumming up on the and of 3 and going and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're not going to worry about. Changing chords at this moment. And John's asking, what does syncopated mean in this context? Is it skipping the strings on an up or a downstroke, like when you have 2 notes to get? It's not technically that. Basically, because technically, if I was playing a 16th note pattern, I would actually be strumming the ands of the beats. Those would be downstrokes, like if I were going. And I'm hitting right here when I'm doing this E9 chord, this James Brown chord. I'm hitting it, right? 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. I'm hitting every 16th note in the bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a. But the syncopation happens over here when I squeeze the chord in specific moments. Okay, so the syncopations is a rhythmic term that refers to having upstrokes or upbeats hit without the downbeat before it. So if I went, that wouldn't technically be syncopated. It could be 1 N, 2 N, 3 N, 4 N, 1 E, 2 E, 3 E, 4 E. But if I did, I'm actually hitting chords on the upstroke without a downstroke right before it. So it's kind of difficult to define syncopation, and you might have other people that have a more academic description. For me, it's more of a feel, but you can define it simply by saying, look, if you have a stranded upstroke, that's a syncopated pattern, okay? And any other pattern I would call simple. So if I went 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and that would be a simple pattern. But if I play that same pattern but don't play the downbeat of 3, 1, 2, and 4, which is the kind of the standard folk groove, that one would technically be syncopated. And I think was it Holly that said something about ties? Yeah, we used okay, this is not syncopated. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down. On that 1, you could play a bass note. Boom, da, 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 boom, da, 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 da. Or boom, chugga, lugga, lugga, boom, chugga, lugga, lugga. Not syncopated, okay? However, if I take that same exact pattern, okay, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and okay, so I just duplicated exactly. Those are both the exact same. Okay, exactly the same. But if I tie the end of 2 to 3, Now that's a syncopated pattern, because now the value of that eighth note that starts on the end of 2 is now worth a quarter note, and it hangs over all the way to the end of 3. So you're not going to strum on the end of 3. So whereas here you would go down, down, up, down, up, down, up. Here you would go down, down, up, down, up. Okay? So this is what I would call simple, and I would call this, and I got the wrong pen, but too fat, but syncopated. Okay? And we probably have JPEGs up on the Discord of this very thing, but you can do a screenshot if you want. I'll hold it really close. Okay? Do you see the difference there? Does that make sense? And syncopated can be a little intimidating at first. You can think that they're harder, and they may be harder, but ultimately sometimes they're easier just because they're more natural feeling. They're more musical. You know, I don't need this here really. It's just in my face. It's getting in my face. So I think a good pattern. Practicing at 100. Oh wow, how did that change to 102? Remarkably bad penmanship. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2. Now you could just on the beat 1, you can just strum a chord if you want. You go. Yeah, you miss the strings on the where the tie is. So you're not strumming on this one. This one you're hitting, okay? That one you're hitting the upstroke, but you're not hitting the downstroke here. So this is, you have either, you can think of it as a stranded upstroke here or a stranded upstroke there too, okay? There's no I usually like to think of it as there's no downstroke before it. So, you know, technically this is syncopated if you have any beats where you have an upstroke with no downstroke before it. See, all of these upstrokes have downstrokes before. So, I mean, that's just kind of an observation of syncopated patterns. But there's a lot of different types of syncopated patterns. And like I said, when I'm doing funky stuff, I'm actually hitting the strings on every strum, on every 16th note. And I'm squeezing the chord when I want those chords. And so on a 16th note pattern, a syncopated would be when you have stranded 16th notes that are upstrokes. So, 34 watching, what? Yeah, I kind of had a little bump in my, just a slight bump in my viewership. Not really so much right now. It just, like 48 hours ago, it got a jump. I don't know what happened, but yeah. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, oh yeah. It's cool though. I like it when it bumps up like that. Awesome. Mugu is eating lunch. What are you eating? Looks like a pita, sushi. And I had sushi yesterday. Just grocery store sushi, but you know, it's not that bad. Arnaud, how can we change a chord between like half on A and then D? What would you call that one? Well, Michael, you may have missed it, but one of the things is if you're struggling with hitting and snagging strings, two things. Use a thinner pick. If you go with a really paper thin pick, it won't be a problem, but you may not like the tone, okay? I mean, this is 0.46 millimeters. This is about as thin as paper. But the other trick, and I don't snag strings even with a 3.5 millimeter pick because I'm holding the pick loosely, okay? So the problem with that is you tend to drop it, but I kind of tend to hold on to the pick with 3 fingers, a thumb and 2 fingers. But yeah, so that's really, those are the 2 keys. First, I would try whatever pick you normally use, you're most comfortable with. I would try holding it loosely and exposing maybe a little bit more of the pick instead of, like this was the pick I used for 20 years, this the Dunlop Derlin 1.5. And even if I was playing funk, electric, you know, I would still expose the pick more. Like I might have that much of the pick showing. Okay, but if I am going to solo, I'll choke down on it, or going to do some kind of single note rhythm thing. You know, like if I was going to go. Yeah, I think that's what he means, Bruce. You know, there's a lot of different things you could do. A lot of people will play D like this or A like this. You know, what you want to do, Arnab, is just, you might, I play A like this just because I want to get skinnier fingers on there because the frets are pretty, the strings are pretty close together. And if I try to play it with these 4 fingers, I like playing with these 3 fingers, okay? So my second finger is on the 4th string, my 3rd finger is on the 3rd string, and my pinky is on the 2nd string. Okay? And then going to D, you're right, is kind of a big shift. But you can just strum it once each. Don't worry. And also, it's okay to have open strings ring out in between. People kind of expect it. Now, you don't want... But when they see you play guitar, they kind of expect... You can't instantly change. Unlike a piano player, see, a piano player can hit a chord and hit a pedal that lets all those strings ring out and then get their hand over the next chord. And then at the same time they hit the chord, they let their foot off the pedal. So the other chord ends at the exact moment that the new chord starts to, is invoked. I was going to say strum, but you don't strum a piano. But guitar players can't do that. We can't be in 2 places at once. We can't. You know, I actually had a guitar synth, and it was pretty cool because I could do that. The guitar synth would allow me to hold a chord until I got my hand ready for the next chord, which was pretty cool, but I hated the sound of all that. You know, if you want synthesizer, hire a synth player. Don't make the guitar player do it. But I was teaching clinics, and Roland was one of the sponsors, and they wanted me to do a demo of their guitar synth as part of my clinic. It was like, oh gosh, I hated doing it because it felt like I was just a traveling salesman or something, you know, hawking something that I would personally never use. So, Ahmad, yeah, so you might want to figure out what the best fingering for A is for you. Like I said, I've seen several. 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4. Some people play 1, 2, 3, but they put, it's actually 2, 1, 2, 1, 3, like the area code for Los Angeles. Okay. Flamenco players play 1, 1, 2. I think so they can have that 3rd finger dominant. But yeah, a lot of flamenco players play it like that. So, and some people will even bar with their 1st finger and then get their bend it backwards so that they can get that E string to ring out. I've seen that. Okay. Yeah, so I would just, but instead of doing the groove and worrying about getting it all locked together, I would just practice getting your fingers. It's like learning a new town. When you move to a new town and you're driving around and you don't know the street names and you don't know how to get around, you don't know which streets go through all the way through, and which I'm still learning. I'm still learning where I'm living now in Los Angeles. I knew Pasadena like the back of my hand because I lived there for, gosh, over 35 years. But up here in the valley, I don't know the valley as well, and I don't think I ever will. I don't think I'll ever learn it. But I'll start heading down the street and then I go, oh, it doesn't go through. Now I got to turn left, and then that street comes backwards, and I'm like, wait, I'm going the wrong way now. It's like, and so it's kind of the same thing. You just got to learn the paths and memorize the paths that your fingers are going to take. And the more you do it, the better it is. I always say, don't like play a song where you go, oh man, I got a D chord in there, in bar 407, and every time I get to that bar, I mess up that D chord. Bar 407, really? Why don't you just practice bar 406 and bar 407? And you can even make that even smaller. What are you struggling with? What chord change are you struggling with? You're struggling from A to D, then practice A to D 1,000 times until you can do it without thinking. And see, the way, if you figure it this way, you can slide your third finger up, and that way you have a minimal. I've told this story before, but I was working for a composer on a movie, and I'm in the studio with him, and I'm playing. The song's in F sharp, awful key, and I don't know why I didn't capo. It may have been. It was a pretty long time ago, but I'm pretty sure I would have known to capo. So it wasn't like that. It might have been a thing where the song was in E, and then it modulated, and I just tried to keep playing. And he said, "We're in the key of F sharp, which has 6 sharps, okay, so there's an A sharp, there's a D sharp, there's a G sharp, there is a B in it, but there's an E sharp in it also, okay. So the chords are like F sharp." He's going. He pushes the button down and talks, because I got the headphones on. I'm in the microphones are everywhere, and he goes, "Tom, why are you playing an E minor?" The guy's got perfect pitch. He goes, "Why are you playing an E minor 7 at 11 chord in between every chord?" And I went, "What?" He goes, "It's not written there." And he had written, chord, right? So like I'm having to play on the and of 4 and then change chords on the downbeat of the next bar. And he goes, why are you hitting your open strings? And I went, well, because I can't be in 2 places at once. And he goes, oh, well, I guess that makes sense, because piano players, they can just, and I said, yeah, you can just go pedal, new chord, pedal, like that. And he goes, oh, yeah. Because when he did the samples, it was keyboard samples. And they seamlessly went from F sharp to B to, when he did the demo. And it was like, that's what he was used to. And I go, yeah, I mean, we can punch in. And I think I just ended up playing it for this little change. Because I was getting lazy, right? I was getting, a lot of times guitar players will do this. But that can also be annoying, and that can take away from the feel of the song. So we have to watch those kind of little things that we tend to do. But yeah, so you do want to practice changing as quickly as you can. But also part of the idiomatic nature of the instrument is that we are going to hit our open strings quite a bit, even in keys that don't contain any of those notes. The key of F sharp, of all of these strings, only the B string is actually in the key of F sharp. So when he heard that, it was like every one of those notes was out of the key. And it's like, he's like, oh, why are you doing this to me? And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah. Oh, you could do that, but that's technically D over A. That has a different vibe, Sam. I'm always shooting down Sam's ideas. Nothing personal. Sam's got great ideas. If you were going for a country vibe, if you were going for a John Mellencamp vibe, if you were going for a Rolling Stones vibe, you know, that would be cool, but that's technically D over A. I like that chord. I like D2 over A with the open E string. But it's not really a good substitute for D if that's the chord that needs to be played. But you can do you could also do I don't know if that would be easier, but it's not bad. So I'm barring, and I'm not really, I'm kind of muting that string, and then I'm going down to this D chord, and I'm barring the top 3 strings and adding my 2nd finger on the 3rd fret. So that's a, it sounds like Tom always shoots down my eye. But like, let's see. What Van Halen? What the Mellencamp song is that? He goes. I love it because that does is that's a. We talked about suspensions all the time, right? This is an A chord. Okay, it's kind of the same. Right, same kind of intro as Tears in Heaven. But he goes to A chord, and then what he does, he does a 4 and a 2, a 4-2 suspension, and then he does a 6 suspension. So 4 to 3, 2 to 1, and 6 to 5. Very Keith Richards too. Sometimes, you know. Keith Richards does that, which is a 4 and a 6 suspension. But he'll also do the 2 and the 4 suspension. So anyway, was that Little Pink Houses? Little Pink Houses. I don't know. Is that Little Pink Houses? Could be. Now I have to look it up. Well, I'll do that later. Oh, that's cool. John can actually get, and I've seen guys do that. They got big fingers, so they can E minor with just one finger. Yeah. I don't know that the E string is critically important when you play an A chord. The other thing you can do, if you're going to play A like that, you can add we'll give it kind of that G sound. And then you got these 2 fingers to do fun stuff with. So anyway, that's a sidetrack. Let's practice this groove. G, bass note, strong, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 1, 2, 3. D. It's gonna be a little harder on the D chord because you gotta. But again, with the strumming thing, you don't have to worry about being too precise on that bass note. If you hit that A string every now and then, that's okay. If you hit the D and this G string, but the A note on the G string, that's also okay. Right? Hey, Paul. Just pushed away from work, now catching up on lots of interesting chat. Paul's got me muted right now. He's just checking out what you all are talking about. The squirrel. Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, the thing about this Wildwood Flower song is I don't feel like it's very hard until we actually have I have a jam track or a play along track recorded. We can't really do a whole lot with it. So, and I may post it on my YouTube channel. But this is if you go all the way to the top of the live stream or live chat, you can see a link to the Dropbox so you can download this. But this is it's in the Discord, and you can download it from the Discord too. So the Discord link is pinned up there. I try to pin that every every week or every lesson. So. Yeah, a lot of squirrels. Now I'm getting cold. See, I went for a long walk. I walked 2 miles to go to Target, and it wasn't open. I was like, dang it, to get my coffee. So I walked like 2 miles to get coffee. And so, but I knew that at the grocery store across the street, they had a Starbucks in there too, and they were open. So, and I was wearing a lot of clothes because it's kind of cold out there for California anyway. It's like 50 degrees. And I decided to walk as fast as I could. Not run, but walk as fast as I could just to kind of try to get my heart rate up. Because I want to start playing tennis again. My best friend Pablo, he started playing tennis, and he has a tennis court. So I'm like, oh, we should start playing tennis. He goes, that would be great. So I may actually, yeah, squirrel chase. I may have to go to Bethany and pick up my tennis rackets. Alex has all of my tennis rackets. So, okay, so this groove, let me write it out so you can see what it looks like on paper. No, won't be a quiz on this, so take a sip. But, let's see if we go this way. God, it's just been crazy busy. Got a bunch of songs coming out with couple different artists. So that's good. I think I'll go with the smaller one. Yeah, see if this looks better. So I'm going to put a little note here with a bass. That's going to be the bass note, okay? And then it's strum. This is probably the best way to write this. Okay, so this is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Down, down, up, down. Okay? That's the groove. A very simple syncopated groove. It's probably one of the simplest syncopated grooves. If you want to make it simpler, you get rid of that bass note. Just do a strum there. Okay? Strum, 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 strum. That's hard to say. Strum, strum. And I've only been drinking coffee. Imagine if I had some of that bourbon and tried to say strum, 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 strum. Okay? But down, down, up, down, down, down. I think you can get that down. And you want to play along with a metronome whenever you're practicing rhythm and things like that. Okay. Just had your late afternoon nap. That's awesome. I should start taking naps. Hard for me to go to sleep in the middle of the day, though. That was one of the versions of Wildwood Flower that I found. It was kind of a banjo, I think they called it a forward roll. Oops. And that's really cool, but it changes the melody. Banjo players will often do that because of the way their rolls are. They're playing the melody with their thumb, usually. Um, and so the low, it's kind of the opposite. Like when you play a chord melody, when I'm playing a chord melody in jazz, I want to make what the trick for that is to make the highest note of the chord be your melody note. Okay, I could play this, but now you don't. Where's the melody? This is the melody, but the ear is naturally attracted to that top note. I played it. So that is how you would do a jazz melody or a jazz chord melody. Okay, but banjo players they'll play be like, and I can hear the melody of that just as well as I can because it's the only thing moving. Like when I told you about playing banjo, it's all about the right hand. The left hand often does very, very little. I should get my banjo out and I can show you. But the left hand makes a chord and maybe a couple changes here and there. But it's the right hand that's creating all that intensity and the speed and the hyperactivity and the fun. It's all in the right hand. And if you get out a bunch of right hand rolls, they call them rolls. We call them finger picking patterns on guitar, but in banjo they call them rolls. If you get down a bunch of rolls, then you've got a good repertoire. And like I said, the bass is usually when I'm doing this. When we were doing this a couple weeks ago, right? That's we're emulating and imitating a banjo roll. And so what's happening is you've got the same three notes. It's a triad. So it's pretty boring. And your ear immediately goes, oh, I understand what that is. That's a triad, and I'm hearing it over and over again. It's kind of like an arpeggiator on a keyboard. Somebody said, one of the early producers for Taylor Swift said, banjo is kind of like the arpeggiator, shoot, what's that called on a synthesizer? I can't think what. But where it just keeps repeating the same, if you play a chord, it'll tend to go, it'll do the work for you. And that's kind of what the banjo players are kind of like that in the band. They're just like this arpeggiator in the band. So any change to that is going to jump out, even if the change is in the bottom part. You can really hear the melody there because it's the only thing that's changing. Okay, so that was one of the versions of Wildwood Flower that I saw. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to putting this. Time is it? Okay, I don't need this. What is this? Oh, weird. Oh, that's weird. Dropbox, when I dropped that into Dropbox, it just went there and it didn't duplicate. I forgot. So I don't want to lose this. I'm going to put this back over here. There it is. Okay. Now I can close this window. And I'm going to grab this, and this should be the first phrase. Okay. So this is the first phrase of Wildwood Flower. Okay. Again, we've been working kind of the rhythm aspect of it. We could have spent a whole week on just playing the chords at different tempos and stuff, and it looks a little funky when I make it too small. It's like those lines start to disappear or get weird. I don't know. It still looks funny to me, but so again, we have a pickup bar. We have beat 3 and 4 into bar 1. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Okay, and that's the first 3 notes. So play. Yeah, shoot. Let me get. I want to see you guys. How many do we have on? 34. Come on, people, show up. 12, 20 degrees Fahrenheit down to 5. Wow. Wow. Okay. So we have second fret, the B note, C, D. So it's a nice little lead into that. The other thing you could do is totally learn the melody up an octave, especially the A section. The B section is already kind of in that good range. But this, again, I've talked. Now, it's fine having the melody down that low, especially on this song, because everybody knows this song. Yeah, thanks, Holly. Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, Emma's, Sam, my daughter's events got canceled today because so much ice in Missouri, having similar problems. Okay, so we started with a B, C, and a D. Okay, and then what I have is a hammer-on. We talked about hammer-ons on Monday. And so we go, you can pluck each one of those notes. You don't have to hammer it on, but I like the sound of the hammer-on. And when you hammer on that E note from D, so open, 2, and an open G string, as soon as you go to that G string, take off your second finger because you're going to need it right here on that B note. And that's a perfect example of woodshedding a micro moment of the song, you know, because you might go, you might have no problem with the rest of the song. You might struggle with that. So practice that little bit, knowing too that we're going to get it up to speed at some point. The idea is not to play it at 100. No one would ever play this song at 100 beats per minute. 200 is probably more like it. So if you even 200 might be on the slow side. 220 might be better. Now that's 100, but what I'm doing is I'm hearing this as half notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can think of, or even better, if you can wrap your brain around it, think of the 100 as 2 and 4. So say how. 3, 4. Oh wait, no, I've got to go. 3, 4, 1, 2. I don't even know how to see. How do I do that? I'm trying to do it. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't do it. My brain won't do it. Let me do it right now. So you know that's the speed we want to ultimately get to if we can. Okay, so now we've done that, and then we just kind of do this C, B, A. Okay, and then we're gonna go B, A to F sharp. Unlike this lick, when we pull off our second finger, it's then available right away to hit that F sharp down there. And that's also, just like you practice this lick, you can practice this one. And that's a lick, both of those licks are licks you can use in soloing over songs in the key of G or whatever, okay? Is anyone still playing along with this lesson? Okay, so that's the first phrase. And then it starts out again. Same way, okay? So check this out. When I drop this second phrase in, I'm going to delete this. Remove, okay, yes. I'm going to go get that second phrase and watch. Second phrase, same as the first. All right, should be identical. So that makes the song fairly easy in that you don't have to learn. It's like a blues tune, you know. It's like the first phrase and second phrase are the same. Okay, so I gotta make it a little smaller. so you can see my ugly mug. Okay, so remember we had the B, C, D. Now, if you have your chart printed up and in front of you, then you knew this. Okay, then our next phrase is just a G triad starting on the D string. Okay, so the pickups for that the third line of the song is the open G or open D and open G, and then delete this, remove, yes, and here's the third line. Okay, really simple. Remember the pickup, D, G, and then B, B, A, G, D, D, E, G, E, D. Okay, and there's a, we'll get to that in a second, but remember that B note, okay? Second fret there on the fifth string. So let's play that again. Open D, G, and now we're at the beginning of this phrase here. B, 2, B, A, G, D, D, E, G, E, D. Okay? You could do that if you want. You can practice doing that with all downstrokes to kind of continue to keep that notion of playing downbeats on the 1, 2, 3, 4, all those downbeats with downstrokes, so that when we go to play faster, we have the ability to throw those upstrokes in there. Okay, now remember this note. Okay, that's going to be our pickup to the next bar. Let's get rid of this bar. Okay, yes, remove. And then the last bar of the song is here. And it ends with the same two notes we started with. So, so the B is hit again. So the pickup to that on the end of the third phrase was a B note. And then we stay on that B. B, A, B, D, B, A. And then we have that B, A, F sharp, G. Okay. Now I may go ahead and at some point write this melody or do another version of this melody up an octave. Tab-wise, so you can kind of see, you can play it in different places. Because here's the thing, when you do, grab that first bar again. When you are soloing, you can. There's nothing wrong with playing the melody again as part of your solo. That's kind of what Mabel Carter does. In that old video of them playing this song. But the other thing you can do is go up an octave and play the melody up an octave too. So that is technically a variation. So if you play the you can that's kind of cool. And get some of those hammer-ons in there. So and that might give you some ideas for soloing. I'm gonna have to think about it because again, we're gonna apply a lot of the scales that we've learned here to this song. All this stuff, we may use a lot of these. Oh, it's funny. Alex and Tom's Thanksgiving Jam. Memories. So we have to do another one of those. It's been a while since we've done one of those. He'll be over tomorrow, I think. Um, but yeah, we're gonna, because of this song's in a key of G, all those scales will work over this. Once I have a jam track, I can show you. I can go through the scales and we can start jamming on them. Yeah, I have a lot of bass guitars. I have 4 bass guitars hanging up right now, and I do have an SG. It's in my gig bag right now for church. I kind of use it as my backup to my Strat right now, in case I break a string, which I probably should change strings on my Strat. It's been a long time. An ad here. That's why I use elixirs, because they just stinking last forever. They just last a long time. I just put these mediums on here. I'm totally digging it. I think from now on this guitar's gonna have mediums, and I've already noticed. Yeah, it's perfect now. So Martins really love medium strings. I'm gonna have to go make sure. I've got that 1924 Martin that's gonna be 100 in 3 years. And that one is I probably have lights on it too, so I probably should put mediums on it. I don't think it has a truss rod. Becker. So I guess no, it would not be. No. Because see, Becker, I made this problem. I had this. Bebop and bluegrass are very similar in that the tempos tend to be very quick. Okay, so ultimately the song shouldn't be dum da 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 da, right? It's not. When I say play 200 over 100, I'm not meaning da, 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 da. If I wrote it like da 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 da, if I wrote that, then those would be 16th notes, not 8th notes. But the truth be told, the tempo should be for this song should be 200. But bebop is like that. Bebop, you can get up into 300 range on songs, and I made that mistake because I didn't think tempos like 300 existed. So when I was a kid in high school, I started transcribing Charlie Parker songs note for note, and I made the assumption that it was like like Scrapple from the Apple. Is that see. That's it. I assumed it was that was a. It's not. You listen to the ride cymbal. Those are your quarter note, and so that was a. Those were 2 8th notes. I wrote them as 16th notes. So when I transcribed all these Charlie Parker tunes, I mean, it was a mess. It was a mess of 16th notes, 16th note triplets, and 32nd notes because I misheard it. But typically bluegrass is in that 200 to 300 range, and so you're probably going to want to write everything. You're not going to want to count it in halftime and write out 16th notes. You're definitely going to probably want to see 8th notes. 8th notes are a lot easier to read, in my opinion. And if I look at like a lot of typical bluegrass, charts, you see 16th notes occasionally. You may see triplets, but like this is all 8th notes. This is what is this? The rag one, Beaumont rag. There it is. And it says the tempo is 200. So it's twice as fast. One net. So it sounds like 16th notes over this beat, but actually it's really 200, not 100, if that makes sense. So Yeah, I think you're right, Becker. Yeah, I think that's true. The dance moves you wouldn't want to go um, double time, or you wouldn't double time. No, but you wouldn't want to go in tempo. You're right. It just looked funny. It looked like Steve Martin dancing. We watched All of Me last night and watched that movie forever. I really like Steve Martin. I think he's great as a comedian, but also I thought he was pretty good in a lot of his movies he's done, different roles that he played. I thought All of Me was pretty funny. So if you haven't seen it, yeah, and the drums. But see, I made in that one of the most common complaint I have on my bluegrass jam track that we have been playing to all this time is that bluegrass players will go, there are no drums in bluegrass, because there really isn't. Fast country, yeah, you would have a shuffle, you have brushes, things like that. But in bluegrass, they don't typically have drums. It's, if you look at bluegrass bands, it's bass, mandolin, banjo, guitar, maybe two guitars, dobro, fiddle, but you wouldn't have a drummer. And so, you might not even have a bass player, but it just depends. I mean, you can have two guys playing guitar and that's it. G meth, yeah. So, line dance on speed, yeah, that would be a workout. Yeah, that would be going to the gym. But and in Wildwood Flower, I mean the range on that, the Carter family one's not ridiculously fast, but it's probably 200 or more. And okay, so what do we? Let's see. Okay. So let's see what else is going on. Okay, so I will try to have a jam track for this for Friday that we can have. I don't know if I'll post it publicly. It may just be a link that you guys can access. I may make it public at some point, but I think it's going to be super slow. So I'm thinking, even at 200, it's going to be pretty. What would 200 be? So if I did 200. It's funny because I'm getting that pattern. Even though it's a 19 bar phrase, which makes 0 sense musically. I'm getting that pattern down in my head better, so that's cool. And Bruce. Oh, yeah. Okay. So let's see what else is going on. So I'll try to have that track, and then so you can speed it up 2 times, and we'll put it at 200, which is pretty good tempo. Like I said, I'm tempted. I could go 120, and then if you go up 25%, 25% from 120 would be, let's see, that would be 30, so that would be 150, and then 50% up from 120 would be 180. Yeah, 120 might be better, actually. I think you could probably handle playing the melody at 120, most of you. But again, you could slow it down. I just like I love the 100 tempo because it's so easy to know what speed you're doing. But I can put the speed, math in the description. So Um, let's see. Okay, so Louisiana, what was your question? You had a question for me? Um, yes, the sun did turn. The sun did turn the trolls into stone. Holly, Holly, Holly is a. Holly, have you been to New Zealand yet? I would love to go to New Zealand. I don't know if. Okay, Louisiana, that's not a question. Um, so let's see. What else is going on? Yeah, that was with Lily Tomlin. Yes, Holly, that's right. She was great in it too. Um, it was, yeah. It's a pretty funny. It has some pretty funny moments. Definitely a very '80s movie, but also a very copy movie. I mean, there was a movie that came out after that with called 18 Again that was with George Burns. And then there was also one that came out in the 90s, probably late 90s, with Meg Ryan. What was that one where she ends up with the soul of an old man in her? And I forget. Yeah, I know. We got to get to New Zealand too. It's New Zealand. Yeah, you would definitely have to drive around New Zealand. They drive on the left hand side, right? So I'll have to learn how to drive. Like, what is my first video? What was it? Um, I mean, if I sort my videos in order of uh, Pro Guitar C, yeah, it was an introduction to the concept of this channel, Pro Guitar Secrets, has 2,700 views, 49 likes. It was published almost exactly 10 years ago. So I'm amazed at how quickly Rick Beato got up to 2 million in 4 years. That's crazy. I'm working my butt off to try to get to 100,000. Like I said, when I get that plaque from YouTube, if I ever hit 100,000, when I get that plaque, I will definitely hang it. It'll probably be the only thing I will ever, any award, because I've played on a lot of gold and platinum records, and I've played on Grammy winning and Grammy nominated records. I played on records that won BMI and ASCAP awards, and I could have all these certificates and free, but they don't send you those certificates. You have to buy them, and generally, unless you are the artist, they give you the Grammy, whatever. But if you want a certificate saying, "Hey, I played on a Grammy record," you have to pay for that, and then there's a company that will basically you pay them to do the research that you're on the record, and then they print it up and frame it. It's like $400, $500, $600, and it's like I could care less. I mean, I'm not really thinking about the stuff I used to do. In fact, they talk about at the NAMM show. um, at the NAMM show, I heard at the Avid booth, which is Pro Tools, the guy said, "Yeah, if your files are not on 3 different places, they don't exist." So that's a great point. The crazy thing is, though, once I've done my work on these hard drives, I will never look at them again because I'm moving on to the next thing. If I play on a movie and I record all these millions of tracks and then send them to the composer, and then he edits them and right, they'll be up on Dropbox and they'll be on my hard drive, and that's 2 places. But generally, I won't keep those. I don't. It doesn't matter if I lose those because once the movie's out, what am I supposed to do with those? There's nothing. There's nothing going to happen with those. Um, so. Oh, Jan, how's it going, man? Um, so that is not necessarily a fear of mine as far as losing files, but okay. So, but anyway, I don't. All that to say, I don't think about what I've done in the past as much as what I'm working on next. That's always what I'm kind of focused on, and so awards and everything don't really mean anything to me. I actually was nominated for a Grammy last year for a record I had nothing to do with. They made a mistake. And I found out it wasn't as big a mistake as I thought it was. Originally, I thought, because they had told me I played guitar on it. When I heard the track, I said, no, that's not me. And they said, no, no, we know it's you. And I said, it doesn't sound like me. A, it's out of tune, and those licks are not licks I would have played, but okay. And as soon as the day the record came out, the kid that actually did the guitar playing on it sent the files to the producer and said, hey, why'd you say that was Tom? It was me. It's like, and I was like, yeah, see, I told you guys it wasn't me. And of course, my name's on the album and everything. And the album gets nominated for a Grammy. And so my name is on the Grammy list. And I'm like, no, I didn't have anything to do with it. Well, funny thing was I did, because the top line of that song was actually written over my guitar hook. And the kid replaced my guitar hook. So he was trying to sound like me, I guess, because it kind of sounds like me. That's why they thought it was me. But the reason they thought it was me in the first place is because they've written the song. So technically I do deserve something for that. But in fact, I get contacted every now and then. Hey, we want to use this song for something. And I said, I'm not a copyright owner, so talk to someone else. Yeah, it's not like it would have generated a lot of money anyway. It wasn't a big hit. Just even though it was on a Grammy nominated record, it didn't win the Grammy. But I have played on a couple records that won Grammys. I've been on other records that got nominated. I just don't care about that stuff. I mean, I'm happy for the artists and for the producers and stuff that get the actual statue. But because I'm not an artist and I'm not a producer, I'm not likely to actually get a statue. So, yeah. Well, that's not unusual. And the kid was 17 years old. He's since he has a #1 hit now. He's like 20 years old. And he's got a #1 hit. So I'm happy for him. Remember when I talked about envy and praying for blessings and stuff for people that you envy, pray that God gives them more. The envy goes away immediately. It actually works. And let's say I prayed for that kid, and he's done very well. And I take some of the credit for having brought his situation to the Lord. Yeah, I mean, it was just not perfectly in tune, but actually being out of tune is kind of not uncommon, particularly vocals. You go back, all the singers, there were out of tune vocal notes all the time in the 60s and 70s and stuff like that, but we were so used to hearing it that way, it didn't bother us. And they would just do multiple takes until they got one that was good. But at some point, I was watching a video on YouTube about why Ringo Starr was such a great drummer. And I've always said he was a great drummer. And I've had arguments with drummers who were, into Neil Peart and thought, Ringo was a lame drummer. And I'm like, yeah, but Ringo broke so much ground for so many drummers, But one of the things that there was a journalist who did a book on the Beatles, and I think I have a couple of his books, and he literally listened to every take the Beatles ever did. And some songs, they did 150 takes. 150 takes of one song. I forget, some of the songs they did 120 takes, 130 takes, 110 takes, 98 takes, 72 takes, or whatever. I mean, and this journalist said less than 12 times in the entirety of the Beatles' existence did they stop a song because of Ringo. Because Ringo made a mistake. Less than 12 times, less than a dozen times. It's like, what? That is insane. And keep in mind, he was a professional musician. He's the only professional musician in the Beatles. He came from a band, but even he had done studio work, and he was made a living as a drummer. And that was why, George Martin didn't like Pete Best playing, although Pete Best I think is on one or two of the songs, the very very early songs of the Beatles. Um, Ringo was quickly brought in to take over, and that's, you know, I mean, clearly they were doing well before that, based on their sheer energy and performance abilities and singing and playing and all that. They were overcoming a bad drummer. But when I say, when you start a band, start with a good drummer. You know, find a good drummer and build a band around a good drummer. And sometimes a good drummer is a drummer that knows how to play simply. Ringo, I don't think I ever heard Ringo do the same groove twice. And this is in an era where every song had the same drum beat. Boom, pa, pa, boom, pa, pa, boom, pa, boom, pa, pa, boom, pa. Every song had that beat to it. And Ringo came along and he's just like, you know, he started doing things. And keep in mind, he's left-handed, but he's playing on a right-handed kit. So if you want to sound like Ringo, you have to start your fills with your left hand, and he would cross. It was like, it sounds really weird the way he would play through the drum kit. So there's some great videos out there talking about his playing, and they talked about what does a metronome use to get time, and they said Ringo, because his time was so good. They didn't use metronomes back then, but if you were to tap out the songs throughout the entire song, if you were to do it, you could MIDI map it. And it's pretty darn spot on. Even take to take, Ringo would pretty much play the same tempo. I mean, if it was 105, it was 105 every take. So he didn't do, I mean, they had a metronome. Sometimes they used metronomes. But they rarely needed it because his time was so good. Yeah, Ticket to Ride's a great groove. I mean, so many grooves that he did were the first. Now, there was a joke about the Beatles, and you know, somebody asked John Lennon, you know, what's it like? Is Ringo the best drummer in the world? And he said, Ringo's not even the best drummer in the band, and he never said that. That's totally not true. But that was just I don't know what he said, but I don't doubt that there were times where Paul sat down on drums and said, Ringo, play something like this. But you really don't see, there's a new movie coming out I can't wait for. I think it's coming out in the fall. It's called Get Back, and it's Peter Jackson. And I'll tell you, if you haven't checked out the trailer for that, check it out. It looks amazing. It got delayed because of COVID. But he says in the trailer, I hope you get a sense of this movie from these scenes. He says it's not a trailer; it's just a montage of the movie. And I hope by that he means that it's basically, I forget, he's 47 hours or 57 hours of film that he went through from Let It Be album, or the Let It Be movie, and every little bit that he showed was the Beatles having fun and smiling. I never saw Yoko smile. And there's a snippet where Yoko smiles at Linda and Linda smiles at Yoko. And it just lifted my heart out of my chest. I was like, oh my gosh, it's like the opposite of what you were told all these years, that they hated each other. And it's like, no, it was just time to move on more than anything. And I think that's what this movie's going to show. That there were definitely moments of frustration that you see in the movie Let It Be, which is kind of a depressing movie. This movie is kind of the mirror image, or the reverse image of that one, is what I'm hoping for, because Peter Jackson said this should give you a sense of what it's going to be like. So that tells me it's going to be pretty positive, you know. And they're just having a good time. And I've seen outtakes of some of this footage, or similar footage from Let It Be, and you know, there's times where they're just goofing off and having fun, like every band I've ever been in. We've just always had fun. So, yeah, they've released 2 bits. Oh, okay. I'll have to check that one out. I've got, yeah, the live version of I've Got a Feeling. Yep, exactly right, Paul. You can identify most Beatles songs by the Ringo's groove. Yeah, if you were to play and that was the other thing is, the drummer for the Stones was a big band drummer, But Ringo definitely swung. His, he definitely had a swing to him. He wasn't like a triplet swing, but he definitely didn't play straight eighth notes. Hardly ever played straight eighth notes. And there was an example in that thing where they talk about what song was it? It's swung, and then but going into the fill, he does dun 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 straight eighth notes into the fill, and it like for lack of a better, it jumps off the page. It's like, wow, that's a great fill, and yet it's a simple fill. He just went. He took, instead of going, it went from a triplet feel to a straight eighth note feel. Really, really made that fill jump off a page. A fill doesn't have to be this, kind of crazy thing. I don't want to hear that. I could care less of how amazing you are as a musician. I want to hear something that makes the song better, or propels the song into the next moment. Especially when we're talking about pop music, and the Beatles were the ultimate pop band. Not many of those, pop artists, yeah, pop bands. That's a kind of a rare thing. There were moments of rock and heavy rock, and they, one of the first recorded examples of distortion was on what song? Was it? Was it? I Feel Fine. I mean, that lick alone is freaking brilliant. There's so many things. I mean, I could do a whole series. I could do 10 weeks on the Beatles, no problem. And it wasn't. Yeah, exactly, Becker. Complimenting the song. And when I do studio work, I'm always, oftentimes when I get hired for records, it's the record is often close to done or nearly done, and they're sending me the track to add guitars to, and I have to be real careful. It's not about using the latest lick I've learned or about using the latest pedal I've acquired. It's about what's best for the song. And sometimes I could do something very simple, and I say, look, this is, I don't, or I've actually sent the song back and said, I don't think it needs any more guitars. I just recently worked with Skrillex. I was writing with Skrillex with just him and me and his engineer, the three of us together. And we spent the night working on some songs, and it was fascinating to watch him work because it really was an example of pop production. I came up with an idea, and he goes, "That's great, you love it." So we recorded it, and then immediately he's like detuning it, changing the tempo, boom, boom, chopping it up, doing this, all this stuff, and then replacing the, like playing the melody I had on it or whatever. He whistled it, and then he played beats on it with his, and he did all these things, and he went from my guitar track, one track, to having 30, 40 tracks of things. And then he started doing what a sculptor does. And that started removing things. And he started pulling things out. And this thing may have inspired this thing that might have inspired this thing that inspired this thing. And then inspired this thing. And this is the thing he used and got rid of all that other stuff. Right? So it's this kind of stream of consciousnness that got him to this point. And then when he pulled everything away, it was, the guitar was gone. Still got writer's credit because it was my idea melodically and the bass line wise. But the guitar didn't serve the song anymore. It didn't fit in this track for that particular song. And we did, like I said, I think we did 3 or 4 songs that night, or started 3 or 4 songs. And when I work, most of the time when I'm working on records, pop records, I'm the first thing. It's my idea that they're building something on. And so but if occasionally, and then the other times I'm working on a record, is they send me a record and they want me to add guitars to it. And then sometimes I go in and I'm with a band and we're all recording together, but that's pretty rare anymore. That doesn't happen so often. But I worked on the new Marco Antonio Solis record, and he's digging it. And they hired me to do 5 tracks on it. a 10-track record. And the thing that went really well is they really liked the ideas I came up with, and I'm always generous with ideas. So I'm, here, okay, I like that. Let's try this. Hey, check out this thing. What if I did this? What if I did that? And I'm always bringing lots of, because I had to go to the studio to do this session, but I was done as an overdub. So the bass and pianos and drums were already done. In fact, I think the drummer was, I think, Greg Bissonette, who tours with Ringo now, plays drums for Ringo, which is his dream job. Okay, let me look up Sam. Yes. Yeah. This book. Yeah, I have almost every Beatles book. It's like I keep that industry alive. It's like there's people that buy every JFK assassination book. I've got all the Beatles stuff. So, I mean, you can find a PDF of that, but it's worth buying the book just to have. But it's a little bit hard to read. Okay, so I'm sorry, Sam. I can't wait for that. Yes, you said that your bouzouki track was in the 5th mode of the harmonic minor scale. Yes. So, what key is that? What is this? So that's a C. So the 5th. Let's see, 5th. Yeah. So that's F. C, D flat, E, F. Yeah, so F harmonic minor is let me just do it old school. Session stuff. So F harmonic minor would be F, G, A flat, B flat, C, D flat, E, and F. Okay, that's F harmonic minor. And if you count up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 5th mode of that would be C, D flat, E, F, G, A, B flat, and C. That's the 5th mode of. Okay, so it's kind of like a. Oh wait, A flat. Sorry, forgot the A flat. So it's kind of like the key of A flat, but with an E flat, with an E natural instead of A flat. But don't think of it that way because that'll just mess you up. But yeah, so I just, I could have done C harmonic minor. Let's see. Which would have sounded pretty cool. But I really like the sound of, I use it a lot on oud too. So I think that's kind of what I was using in that audio example. I mean, I was just kind of messing around. That thing is bigger than your average Bible. So a flat 7. Oh wait. Oh, yeah. I think it's about 50 or 60 bucks. I bought one for all my composers. I had Amazon ship it to all my composers I work for Christmas last year, or the year before last, I think. I just thought it was a really cool. If they do one for Radiohead, I'll probably do it again. It would be like amazing to have a Radiohead, complete Radiohead. So 4 or 5, flat 7. It would be. Yeah. with the harmonic, it would be. You could do a major 7 too, which would be really cool because then you would have a B, a C, and a C sharp, or a B, C, and a D flat. So you would have 3 chromatic notes, and I've heard that scale before. I don't know what it's called though. Harmonic minor, no, harmonic minor has so like if you look at C harmonic minor, or let's look at A harmonic minor, A, B, C. Here's E, F, G. That's A minor. Oops. Okay. Harmonic minor has a G sharp, a sharped 7th. A, B, C, E, E. G sharp. Harmonic minor. Okay. So if we were to go do the 5th mode of that, it would be E, F, G sharp, A, B, C, D. And there's a name for it, and I can't think of what it's called. There's names for all of the modes of harmonic minor. And, you know, I use this one more than any of them. Besides, probably even use this more than I use the 5th mode more than. Are you talking about the Beatles book? No, it's just. And John, are you trying to compare it? Harmonic minor has only a flat 3 and a flat 7. Yeah, it's a flat 3 and a flat. Let's see, A, B, C, D, E. Yeah, exactly right. Flat 3 and flat 6, right? That's right, John. No, definitely not the flat 7. Regular, yeah. It's a natural minor with a regular 7. You can think of it that way too. And then melodic minor has the 6th and the 7th raised, but only ascending, descending, it's flatted. So that's the Segovia scales. We talked about those in the past too. You know, when you do the Segovia scales, like the G minor Segovia scale, you go up harmonic or melodically with 2 sharps, and then coming down. It's just a pure G minor. That's what melodic minor is. And that's what the Segovia scales are. And I have no nails right now. I'm so bummed. In fact, I'd start. You're probably going to see polish on them, not like just clear polish. They're going to be shiny though, because I really want to grow my nails back. But I had to just kept getting snags in them and things, so I had to file them down to practically nothing, just to start over again. What is that on the screen? Those are the chords for Wildwood Flower, this song in the key of G. You'll notice that it's a 19-bar phrase, which is really unusual. You got that. You got a bar of like, let's chill out, you know, and then it goes away in that 3rd line, and then it comes back in the 4th line. So, Opa. No, the 2 is not flatted in that particular mode. Oh yes, the 2 is. I'm sorry. That yeah, in the 5th mode, yeah, the 2 is flatted. Sorry, I thought you were talking about harmonic minor. And you could go with a major 7th on there. Which sounds kind of cool. But I don't know the name of that scale. There is a name for it. Maybe the Hungarian minor scale? Let me look it up. Is that Hungarian minor? Hungarian minor scale. It's been a couple hours. I'm not seeing it. Hungarian minor scale. C, D, E flat, F sharp. Well, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, Hungarian minor is different. This is Hungarian minor. That's a cool scale. So C, D, E flat, F sharp, G, A flat, B natural, C. That's crazy. So that scale is C, D, E flat, F sharp, G, A flat and B. That's C Hungarian minor scale. And that is not a byproduct of the, that's not a mode of the melodic minor though. Right? Yeah, no, that would not be Aztec two-step. Yeah, it's not a fake book. It's actually the legitimate. Let me see if I can find a link on Amazon. If you guys if you're really into it, again, it's a little bit on the small side. You know, I have to like kind of pull out a magnifying glass. But if you really want to buy it, it's kind of cool to have. I like having it. It's a good. It's pretty darn close. Oh wow, look at this. It's oh, to rent. Hilarious. You can rent it. What the heck? That's weird. I've never seen it. So hardcover, $62, which is what I have. Let me see if I can get a text. Because if you buy it, I get like 5% or 3% or something. So kind of cool. 5% I think of books. So I would get a couple bucks for that if you bought that. But and you can go to any of my Amazon links and you don't have to buy the thing that I'm linking to, like the picks or the strings or any of that stuff. But if you're going to go shopping on Amazon, you might as well go through my links and then do your shopping, and then I get a little love for that, which is always appreciated. I mean, like I said, it generates anywhere from $10 to $25, $30 a month from Amazon. So is the fifth? Let's see, John. I'm thinking from the alteration to a major scale. It seems what you're doing is starting with an Aeolian and then making the necessary adjustment. Yeah, probably not. John, so you're talking about the. Yeah, I mean, oh, I see. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. No, that yeah. But the fifth mode of F minor would have a B flat in it. So so that would be, I don't know what that one is, but that's not a mode of the F harmonic minor. The one I played originally though was. But I do like the sound of the major seventh in that. Oops. And that gets into the Hungarian. That's why I thought of Hungarian when I saw those 3 half steps in a row, because I knew that Hungarian had something like that going on. Pepperoni, Pepper. Hey, Pepper. So yeah, and every time I pick up that, it's like, did you guys take a sip when I changed to the? That's one of the drinking game rules, is you take a sip when I change instruments. So then I go to the tumbie. Thing is crazy. All right. What else is going on? All right, I'm going to take off because it's already been 2 hours. And thanks for the likes. Thanks for the love. And I will talk to you. I'll see you hopefully on Friday. My goal is to, if they can stop cutting down things behind my house, my goal is to record a jam track at, I may go 120 on this. I'll try to decide. 100 is probably fine, but it sounds so underwater when you speed it up too much or slow it down too much. So it won't be very useful, I don't think, at 2 times speed. And I'm probably just going to record one guitar. It's maybe one guitar playing. That's it. It's going to be very, very simple. I may put a bass on it, but I don't think so. We'll see. The problem with yeah, we'll see if it has a copyright strike. I'll upload it and it will tell me right away if it's copyrighted before I can even post it. So, which I don't. If I play it live, if I play it myself, I don't think they can claim it. It's just chords. So, anyway, so we will. I will see you guys on Friday, Lord willing, and I hope you guys stay healthy and have some fun and keep playing that guitar. Get better. That's why I'm here. I'm trying to get you better. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.